summer fade and winter draw near, my Lord, in your presence I live without fear. Through tempests, through snows, through turbulent tide, the touch of your hand is my strength and my guide. I ask for no riches that death can destroy. I crave only thee, your love and your joy. I ask for no riches that death can destroy. I crave only thee, your love and your joy. The dancers will pass, the singing must end. I welcome the darkness with you for my friend. I'd like to begin with a reading from Whispers from Eternity. This is: demand that, through all tests and trials, the love of God may never fade. This is by Paramhansa Yogananda. O Spirit, I care not if all sufferings come to me, or all things be taken away from me. I pray only that my love for Thee never fade through my own negligence. May my love for Thee burn brightly forever on the altar of my constant remembrance. We're going to have today continue our celebration of Swami Kriyananda's Moksha Day, which was on the 21st. And there are many reasons to do so. Oh, sorry, I was seeing some faces that I haven't seen in some time, though I had the warning you were coming still. The real thing, there's nothing like it. So we've had quite a celebration this time. It's been an interesting thing, because when we approach the Masters with faith, with love, with celebration, we find that their blessings come to us in different ways. In other words, it's not just we doing an arati hoping that something will happen abstractly. It's that we can feel that response inwardly, sometimes even outwardly. We began on Thursday with an evening program, the day of, and the great blessing for that was that it was in person and online, our first one in the middle of the week, and we weren't sure if anybody would come at all during the week on a weeknight, except for Prasanna, but he has to be here if he wants to keep his job, so, but we would be happy with him, but we were hoping maybe others too, and when we came, Dharmini and I came and we saw all these people, it was really a joy, because it was really in Chennai that we learned that you have to celebrate the day, the occasion, on the day. There's a lot of flexibility with holidays in the U.S. that if there's a holiday that's on maybe if it's on a Tuesday, it's observed on a Monday so that you get a 3-day weekend out of it. Everything leans toward vacation in that way. And even in other parts of India, we found there was, it was okay if we sort of celebrated around that time. But Monday, actually, for us, is often a rest day after the weekend, and sometimes there would be holidays on Monday, and in the beginning we would try to ease the celebration away from the Monday. Maybe it could be on a Tuesday or on a Sunday, and we got enough feedback that, but today is the day. What are we doing today? Well, we're thinking about God, but we're actually going to celebrate. Well, I would like to come today. So that made us realize that we really should celebrate it on the day, because the truth of it is that there is a blessing on that day. And why not have that blessing and also celebrate it the day before, the day after? Celebrate it the whole week, but don't give up that chance to get an infusion of blessings on that day. Why? Why would we? Why would we skip that just for convenience, as I remind myself sometimes on Monday holidays? So just because there always is a blessing that comes eventually, or meaning that I feel it eventually. I'm sure it was there the whole time. So the Thursday celebration, we had a nice experience on Friday that Prasanna and Rajesh got to go to a company, a government organization, and share with them some of the Master's teachings for a workshop that they wanted. And it felt like a nice continuation, because Swami Kriyananda ji was always expanding, always reaching out into new areas and helping people who were interested, and not just holding it on for himself. He very much wanted to share these teachings. He had that spirit, and Master saw that spirit in him and encouraged him in that. In fact, so much so that Swamiji said once, when Swamiji was young and he was suffering from a mood, feeling that maybe Master didn't love him, and he meditated and he was able to get rid of that mood. When he saw Master again, Master said, "No more moods now. Otherwise, how will you be able to help people?" And Swamiji thought how interesting and appropriate that he picked that as the reason for no more moods. Because he could have said, "No more moods, don't you see how they make your life miserable?" And he said that, in fact, to other people on other occasions. "No more moods." Master said, "I suffer when you have moods," he said to the disciples, "because I see then that Satan has a hold of you." Meaning that we are succumbing to this maya, this thought that, this and that, as if, and forgetting God, forgetting to be joyful. And so he didn't say like, Satan has a hold of you forever, but just the point is that we're getting caught up in something that's pulling us down. But he said, "I suffer." It doesn't mean he wasn't loving us or helping us through that, of course. So he could have given many reasons, but to Swamiji he said, "Otherwise, how will you be able to help people?" And Swamiji said, "Master knew that would be a strong motivation for me to work on myself, because I had this great desire to help others." Why? Well, Swamiji had a theory about that. He said that, first of all, Master told him it was his karma to help others, but he had that drive from the beginning. And he said, "I think I had that desire because I had suffered." And he said, you often see that those who have suffered physically in this life or in past lives, they want to help ease people's physical suffering in this life. Those who have suffered mentally often will want to help others to help them out of their suffering. And so in the same way, those who suffer spiritually. In Swamiji's case, Master said, in past lives you were eaten up with doubts. And he didn't have those doubts in this life, but one of the ways he not only expressed his lack of doubt and sort of proved it to himself, but also helped others in case any karma outwardly was needed. For example, suppose there had been some karma in the past of other people doubting, he now was helping to clear people's doubts. But most of all, too, it was just his wish because he had suffered from doubting. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the doubter is the most miserable of mortals. And meaning that's how they feel. He's not saying, "I'm going to make you." No, it's someone's own feeling. That's a good thing to keep in mind. If you're going up against somebody in a debate who is doubting ferociously, and especially at the beginning of the path, you have a lot of these you may encounter. Remember, they're not happy in those doubts. They may act happy. They may say, "I'm perfectly happy." As someone asked Swamiji once, she said, "What do you say to atheists who don't believe in God?" And went on this. And she was asking it in a bit of an argumentative tone. It wasn't just sort of neutral. And Swamiji said, "I would just ask them, are they happy?" Now, if you think about that, that's a very fair question. He's not saying they're not happy. He's just asking, are you happy? And In fact, it's funny because I didn't believe in God growing up, and I also had to concede that that belief was not making me happy. It was not convincing my heart. My heart knew there's something hidden, something missing, something bigger, something better. And I remember saying this to one professor at my university, that I was wondering if there wasn't a God, and I thought maybe there wasn't, but that answer was not satisfying to my heart. And he said, it wasn't satisfying. It wasn't satisfying, as if that's no reason to think that it's not true. And I thought, well, I don't want to argue with anybody because I used to think the same way, so I can understand. But when you live only with the mind, it's like using only one hand. You know, you have two hands, most of us, and so we have also a heart as well as a mind, and we should use both. Why not? Why not have twice the power? And so in Swamiji's case, then, how did I get onto this? Doubting, I doubted. Anybody remember what I said just before this? Say again? Yeah, doubter is the most miserable of mortals. Yeah, the atheists. Thank you. Yeah. So the Swamiji said to the woman when she said, what would you say to atheists? He would say, I would ask, are you happy? And she said, well, I talk to them and they say, I am happy because I am being honoring my own experience. I am following the truth as I perceive it. And then Swamiji interrupted her and he said, and I can say that I am happy without having to say because. And it's a very helpful answer as well. Maybe it makes sense, maybe it doesn't. But when you feel that joy, for no reason, it's very satisfying. Why? Because if you feel joy for a reason, then we cannot feel joy when that reason is removed. You see? But when you feel joy for no reason, meaning you feel joy because, then that joy is safe, or at least can last longer, despite all the storms. That's why Krishna, again in the Gita, says the sage or the saint is unmoved by gain or loss or health or ill health or meeting a friend or meeting an enemy. And it can appear that the sage is unmoved because he's dead. I am unmoved, no. Or because he's numb. I feel nothing. Hello, friend. I feel nothing. Hello, enemy. I feel nothing. Payasam, nothing. Pavakai, nothing. Because of numbness. That's the only thing we can relate to. From a lower point of energy, we say, well, the only time I've had that experience is when my tongue was numb. Otherwise, it would be payasam and vindam. And so, the thing is that you're laughing also on Sai Ram's behalf. I appreciate that. So the thing is that we are, I asked Swamiji this, and he said what Krishna means is that the saint's joy is undisturbed by any of these outward things. I meet a friend, I'm in joy. I meet an enemy, I am in joy. Not because of these things, but because of my love for God, because of my feeling of God. And that's easy to feel if we relax a little bit and allow ourselves to be open. It's not an imposition that something is coming into us and changing us. It's our own soul nature coming out. It's our own inherent joy, our spark of the divine coming out. And so we're celebrating Swamiji's life. I mean, we're not celebrating his exit from earth in the sense that we were happy about that. In fact, I wasn't at all happy when we got the news Deviji had phoned us to tell us that Swamiji wasn't doing well, and then there was some emails coming, and when we got the email that he'd left the body, I just cried. That's all I could do. I was heartbroken. I was shattered because he was gone, and there was no warning. Now, he had had many close calls before this, many times when his health was precarious, and we would pray. There was one time where he said to his nurse, I don't know if I'll live through this evening. And she sent this out. And so at the time, Dharmini and I were living in Los Angeles, and there was an ashram there. And we, meaning people living there, also a small community, but in one house. And so we just stayed up the whole night praying, and every hour on the hour we would do healing prayers for Swamiji, we would meditate, we would chant. As the hours wore on, we would also just sit and talk about Swamiji or watch videos of him, but we stayed up the whole night because we thought, if this is the night, we don't want to say that, well, we got the news but we slept. I mean, if you know the story of the Garden of Gethsemane, it was a little bit like that no, we are going to be awake. We are going to do what we can, if nothing else, so we don't have regret, because this day could be the day. So we told Miriam we were doing this, and in the morning, she had told, there was a time difference. He was in Italy, we were in America. She told him this, and he said, "That's impressive." And then he said, "Well, maybe I'll stick around a little longer." And I thought that was also his way of saying, "Why don't you go to bed?" at this point. So anyway, so we'd had scares, but this was no warning. It was just that Swamiji's having trouble breathing, and that's it. Then he was gone. And, in retrospect, I'm sure that's exactly how he wanted to go. In fact, he had a great look of joy on his face as soon as he stopped breathing. And so, I mean, it was together that way. But, 9 years we can look back on it and feeling his presence, seeing his continued blessing, it doesn't feel like he's gone. In fact, I have to admit, I feel closer to him now than I felt when he was alive. But still, you always miss the physical presence, even as we all, in these past 2 years, have missed the physical presence of each other. Something we take for granted, that just being able to be together. And that's why I was seeing Babu and going, just because it's been a while. So, happily though, from other people in my life, when they left the body, they were just gone. I didn't feel them anymore. Maybe for a few days or something, but then after that, and in a way that's good. You're actually supposed to go on, not stick around. But with Swamiji, that we were tuning into him during his lifetime, because he was only rarely in the same country that we were in. In other words, if we were in India, he was living in India with us for about 1/3, 4 months of the year, but then he was in the next country, meaning Italy or Europe, or in America. He split his time. So everybody was always used to, unless they were following him, that he was away a lot of the time. But you could send emails, you could get sometimes an answer inwardly, and that has continued. Swamiji is still checking his email, even now. So why do we celebrate this day also? It's natural. He's the founder of Ananda. We could think of it as founders, the founder's life, but it's much more than that. First of all, Swamiji was told by Master that he would find God at the end of his life. And I don't know, did that mean at the exit from the body, or did it mean the end chapter of life? To me it doesn't matter. First of all, it's moot now because the verdict is in. But also, if somebody is a year away from finding God, or a month away from finding God, or 10 years away, that's good enough for me. It was how we felt in his presence that was very powerful. Without Master's statement, I wouldn't be able to say Swamiji had found God. How would I know? But for Master to say it, that's enough for me in terms of my faith. But Master also told him, don't think about it. He told this to him as a young man, of course. And he said, much work remains for you in the world. And so it is perfectly honorable, appropriate to celebrate the moksha, the conscious exit of a saint, but also in our gratitude for all that Yoganandaji has brought to us, these teachings, this way of life, Hongsa, energization, Kriya Yoga, and that all of that, we have to say, we received through Swami Kriyananda. And even very specifically for each one of us in Chennai, beyond everyone receiving those techniques, Swamiji came here January 20th, 2013, 3 months almost to the day. He left the body on April 21st, so January 20th. He came to Chennai, to the Music Academy, and Chennai responded with 3,000 people trying to get in to the hall, and Swamiji said, we have to have a center here. And overnight, plans were made to have a center here. And just a few months later, a center started. And that is almost from nothing, in the sense that there wasn't a strong energy in Chennai before that. There were some classes leading up to Swamiji's talk, hoping that people would come to Swamiji's talk. In fact, Devendraji, who was organizing the talk, said, people were saying to him, why did you rent such a huge hall when we've had no presence in this city before? I mean, years ago there were classes, but nothing recently. And the people at the Music Academy said, don't worry, we can keep all the balcony entrances closed, so people, when they come in, will just fill up the main auditorium, and so you don't have to worry about that. And a half an hour before the program started, the balconies were filled. And some of our friends here, were at the program that day. But still, that response is what brought Swamiji's response. Although I have to say, he wrote to Dharmini and me the day before the program to say, why don't you come to Chennai? And so he must have felt, intuitively that this was coming. So anyway, just to say that was the last center that Swamiji founded during his lifetime. And so it touches each one of us. In another city, they waited 15 years before they could get a center. I mean, not they waited, but it just took that much time. And that's a little bit on the long side, but still, it takes time usually. But he just, essentially pressed a button, and here we all are. So it's a very special and precious thing that we hold personally in Chennai because of his giving us this center and really bringing us all together. So what we'll do, this is not a comprehensive story of his life today that we're going to be watching, but it's just little snippets over time. Because Swamiji lived many years, it can be helpful to sort of see him at different points. I picked video clips as opposed to just photos, just so you can see him and hear him. But because they are video clips, they're somewhat arbitrary in their content. Because, photos you can pick, but you don't know what the context was. You can sort of see the person as they were, which is helpful. In this, he's speaking on particular subjects, which are very helpful and interesting, but not necessarily tied together. But it's for the sake of, we have this video from this time, so let's watch it just so we can see him and hear him. And also do a little bit of time traveling, so that we can also feel that connection. Then when you see a picture of him from that time, if you do, you can say, yes, I remember, I know, I saw that part. So it's a nice way for it to feel his presence, but also to get to know him a little better. Again, his life was only for Master. And that's why this statement about humility is so perfect, because he only lived to share Master's teachings. He said, I want to be remembered, if I am remembered at all, as a good disciple. And Sri Kartikeyan, praised him, saying, in India, we have so many gurus, but we have very few disciples. Not just which is that famous statement in India, but just literally that so often, as soon as the guru of a work dies, somebody becomes the new guru, and all the old pictures get taken down or shrunken into small size, and the new picture goes up. Swamiji said that's not really appropriate. He said when you have someone of the stature of Yogananda and other great gurus, Ramakrishna Paramhansa and so on, they brought as avatars a particular power onto earth, and that power, they are the channel, not the source, but they are the strongest channel for that power, and everyone should align themselves with that. He said, just in the way that many Hindus will think of themselves as disciples of Krishna, not directly, but in this line, this lineage, so there should be that same feeling of that I am connected to the master who brought this. But there is just this too much, for various reasons, too much of a belief of, well, they're gone and now we have somebody else. But that new person may not have the consciousness, probably doesn't, that the avatar had, unless they too are an avatar. And so he brought this up with a disciple of Shivananda, because that was happening there. And she said, you're absolutely right. We should rethink this. But Master was very clear in that. He said, I am the last of basically the founding gurus of this work. Not the last guru, but the last of the founding gurus that we have. And that's also why we don't have Swamiji's picture on the altar in that way. Somebody once asked us, a little bit upset, that I have such great love for him and he has founded this, and why is his picture not on the altar? And we said, by his request. Oh, okay. Because he said it's not appropriate. It's just not appropriate. And yet, again, we can't help feeling gratitude to the one who made all of this real to us. So I'll be explaining a little bit about these videos, but just try to watch them and feel them, as I said before. Okay. This first video is one of the earliest videos we have of Swamiji, and this is from the late 1970s. So Ananda started in 1968, so this was 11 years into Ananda's existence, and this is just a short clip of Swamiji at that time.
Heavenly Father, recharge my body with thy cosmic energy, my mind with thy concentration, my soul with thy ever-new joy. O eternal youth of body and mind, abide in me forever and forever. Om. Amen. Double breathing. Leg recharging. Ankle recharging. Leg the other side. Ankle 3 times one way, 3 times the other way. Calf and forearm, left side, alternating. Calf and forearm.
Now this next video is from a few years later, where Swamiji was creating a set of videos for a course in meditation. And so this is I think it actually might be 1990, actually. So again, about 11 years later.
Now, how should you chant? Well, first of all, you've got to sort of shout down your restless thoughts, eh? So let's do it that way, that you sing loudly, first of all, and sort of get your mind together, sort of generate the energy. Then you should sing more softly. Then still more softly. Then take it much more within. And then when you sing, sing with real feeling. You know, when I'm singing alone instead of with a crowd, I sing very differently. I'll sing a little bit like that so that you'll see what I mean. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Wilt thou come, just for once come to me? Wilt thou come, just for once come to me? Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Lord, open wide I keep for thee, Lord of my heart. Open wide I keep for thee. Wilt thou come just for once? Wilt thou fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Will my days fly away without seeing night and day? I look for night and day. I look for thee. Night and day, I look for thee. So when you sing with your heart, sing with your soul. Don't just make it a vain repetition of words. But sing that way. Then what you should do is sing more and more softly, become more and more internalized. And then let it sink into the subconscious. And then raise your energy and love and everything upward. And sing only mentally, only beyond the mind, just in absolute stillness, until that song becomes silence, until you feel an actual contact. When you sing like that, then that song comes back during the day, and every time it comes, you begin to feel uplifted all over again.
Okay, and this is from that same series of videos. Is that it? I think there's one that's number 3.
Oh, sorry.
Then the deep breathing will automatically purify the blood of a lot of the carbon. You'll exhale it in the form of carbon dioxide. In this way, gradually you'll become calm, so that when you actually begin watching the breath, you're not like that, but you'll see the breath already fairly calm. Now, before you begin this technique, always inhale, exhale, and then wait for the breath to come in. Begin with an exhalation. When the breath comes in, of its own accord, mind you, but it's coming in of its own accord, then there's something else I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to practice what they call in India a mantra. A mantra is certain sounds that exercise an effect over the nervous system, over the energy in the body, over the mind. Even there are certain mantras that exercise a certain amount of power over objective things. Mantras that you can recite in order to overcome obstacles, for example. In this case, what we have is a mantra that vibrates on a subtle level with the breath. That on a subtle level, these are the sounds that the breath has been heard to make. Hong as it comes in, so as it goes out. Hong, so. Do these words have meaning? Yes, they do. Actually, the Sanskrit words are aham saha, which means I am he. But this becomes made into a mantra. The hong is I. And you know how when you ring a bell, the gong sound goes outward? So that thinking of I, not as aham, which is an affirmation I, but hong dissolves that sense of I. Hong helps to expand your sense of self into something greater. And so, instead of saha, so that you feel the peace of the Spirit. This becomes a mantra instead of simply a statement uttered in Sanskrit. And there are different ways that you'll find it pronounced, because a very ancient language has found different expressions in different parts of India. But the way that my guru, my teacher, Paramahansa Yogananda, used to put it was Hong So. Hong So. I am He. I am the infinite. There's another interesting point here. His name was Paramhansa, or the way they pronounce it in Bengal, Paramhansa. Hongsa. Why? You see, Hangsa or Hangsa also means swan. Now, why swan? That seems like a silly thing to bring in. But you see, swan has a very deep sort of allegorical meaning, metaphorical meaning. A swan is equally at home on land and in water. And so one who is enlightened is equally at home on the dry land of spirit and in the upheaving waters of delusion, you might say. And or you could put it the other way around and talk about the dry land of matter and the fluid land of spirit, but equally at home in both worlds. And a Paramahamsa means a supreme swan, one who is completely at home. And there's another thing about the swan, that it is said, at least mythologically, I'm willing to believe it, but I can't say I've ever observed it, but they say that a swan is able to take milk in its mouth and separate the curds from the whey, presumably because it has a certain acid there that coagulates the milk. At any rate, the idea here is that a Paramhamsa is able to discriminate between truth and falsehood, reality and dream and illusion. And so, Hangsha...
Sorry to cut that off. This next video is, one of the reasons why I showed that too was because so many of us practice Hong Sa, and we got to learn a little bit about it from Swamiji directly just now. This next video is from many years later. I don't know. I think it was does it say there 2008? Anyway, it was, or maybe 2010. Yeah, 2010. So at this point, Swamiji was 84 years old, I believe. Yeah. So this was in India at his home in Pune when he was filming the Bhagavad Gita videos. And in fact, these Gita videos are now available finally after many, many years. So if you go to Ananda's YouTube channel, you'll see every few days, or I don't know when, they released once a week probably, there's a new video of Swamiji wearing blue with mountains in the background, and this was during the filming of those videos.
I think I'm done with this tiny wash my hands for a while.
5-minute warning to choir. Okay.
Okay. Somebody might be looking for a knife. That's the valuable creature
Is there anybody who wants tea?
We're almost there. Come along. But for the sleeping pit, cannot come out.
Okay. Sri Dharmaraj.
Yeah.
Buddy! Just a second.
I said that it is very good. It's just
That's Swamiji's home there.
We're starting again, but I need it. I'm here under these lights. I'm really hot.
I turn it on every time.
Huh?
I turn it on every time between shifts.
You turn it on? Oh, I'm still hot. Oh well.
Maybe Swamiji, a cotton kurta would help you better than that polysilk.
This is all right, I hope.
That
Well, you're right. I've
you
got
know,
to
it
buy
doesn't
one.
allow your body to breathe.
I have to buy one before I can do it, and maybe I can find one. Maybe you'd like to buy me one.
Yes, sir.
Medium size.
All right.
Namaskar. Take feeling no attraction to the sensory world, either subtle or gross. The yogi lives in the ever-new joy of his own being. United to spirit, he attains the perfection of absolute bliss. Many people think that if you're not going to be enjoying or having ups and downs in your feelings, if you eliminate if you become even-minded all the time, you have to eliminate feeling. This is not the case. You can't eliminate feeling. Feeling is citta. Citta is the essence of consciousness. The intellect can find out many answers, but only the feeling. There are two things science will never be able to replicate, never be able to produce in their own way: feeling and ego consciousness. He finds peace who knows me as the enjoyer of all offerings or yajna and austerities, as the infinite Lord of creation, and as the dearest friend of all. Joy to you. Well, that's it. Thank you all. Now, do you want to ask anything, or do you want to rush off to yours? I did want to speak to you for a moment.
Not you, but you. Yeah, no, that, you're right. And, any questions? Any questions?
Swamiji,
Okay.
could you talk more about when you were saying don't engage with evil?
What's that?
You were talking a day or so ago about not engaging with evil and not having it disturb your peace of mind.
Evil, what is evil and what is good? Evil is that which is farther away from your source. Good is that which is close to your source. To get involved in ego is to get involved in restlessness and confusion and all those things. A thing is evil because it makes you confused. So we need to get away from evil. And it's not enough to say, well, it's all in the mind. Because that's exactly where it is. That's exactly where you've got to fight it. And so don't give evil its chance. It has its own magnetism. And if you mix with evil people, if you mix with worldly people, or if you entertain evil thoughts, you'll gradually be drawn in those directions. So that's what I mean. We have to avoid that and keep our minds affirming the good. Okay? Well, everybody, thank you for coming. Namaste.
Swamiji's accomplishments in this life are staggering, amazing. Those outward activities alone are not what made the essence of Swamiji's life. It's that he had the deep, deep desire to know God and the deep desire to share God with everyone.
And that's what Swamiji did for all of us. He took the words, the yearning of our souls that we didn't know could be expressed, and he gave it words, he gave it melody, he gave it community, so that we knew that what we always believed was true.
I thank him deeply for his impact. I thank him deeply for his friendship, for his love, and I thank him most of all for awakening in me and so many the desire to know God and to share him with all.
Though green summer fade and winter draw near, my Lord, in your presence.
I want to now take a moment to read from Swamiji's last will and legacy, because it expresses his intention for the future. First he says, My 9-stone astrological bangle, which I have been wearing in my capacity of spiritual director or Dharmacharya of Ananda, should be held in perpetuity and worn by my spiritual successor, Johnny Novak, generally known by his spiritual name, Jyotish. My legacy to Ananda is spiritual in nature and consists of the following twin ideals based on the example and teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. 1. People are more important than things. For people, especially in their spiritual needs, will always be more important than any organizational exigency. 2. That Ananda remain true to our motto, Jato Dharma Tato Jaya. Where there is adherence to right attitude and action, there is victory. My wish is that Ananda always remain true to these principles, for again, Ananda is a spiritual ideal, for the meaning of Ananda is divine bliss.
For my home is a green hill, home is a wind, blowing betrayal far.
A tiny bubble of laughter, I have become the sea of mirth itself. Really, is there a more exquisite way to think about the passing of one who gave us so much? Is to rejoice with him genuinely and become with him the sea of mirth itself.
He's writing a new book, and this is one that the world has never seen before, because he's writing your story and he's writing my story. We just have to be willing to be true to the story of our lives as God and Master would tell them through us.
I asked Swamiji, I said, when you leave your body, will you be able to help us as much as you are now? And he paused. Then he said, I really hope so. And I realized years later what he meant was, if you can stay in tune, I can help you.
But when I'm silent, free from all care, I discover my homes everywhere. Home is a green hill, home is a wind, blowing betrayal far, far away. Home is the knowledge heaven is near. Home's the end of the
As I look at all these communities and all these hundreds and hundreds of people and thousands of people following, I can feel good about it. And I do.
Nightly when starlight enfolds us, peace is its lullaby.
We are together because we've done this together. And this is why I've had the good fortune and the good karma to be able to draw so many people, because we've done it before.
Peace gave us the morning, peace gave us the sun. Birds
I am so grateful that so many of you have come. I believe that when we die and we have to leave all those whom we loved behind, and we'll never be in this body again, and we'll never be able to enjoy this life again as we've known it, and do all the things and be in all the places we've been before. Yet I believe there is a string that ties us to everybody we have loved.
Peace gave us the seasons, peace gave us the rain, cool clouds that gather to bless us.
Let's all take a moment in silence, and we can let us look into our own hearts and try to feel there the voice of Swamiji that is saying to each one of us, it's time to take the next step. And try to feel what he's guiding you to do.
Peace gave us our heart's love, peace gave us our smile.
Above all, the way we can be with him and reach him is in the joy of our own souls. That's where Swamiji is.
I love everybody. I love God in them. And those who respond to that love, I believe there is a tie between us. And I believe that you have been brought here, many of you, because you've been with me before. I'd like to begin by reading from my new book, which probably most of you have seen already. The commentary is The Essence of the Bhagavad Gita. Among thousands of men, scarcely one strives for spiritual perfection. And among those blessed ones who seek me, scarcely one out of many thousands perceives me as I am.
Father, now that I wander with thee, flowers and fields seem aligned with thy joy.
I couldn't set aside his words to me. Your life is one of intense activity and meditation. His statement, your work is lecturing and writing, and his frequent charge to me, you have a great work to do. Moreover, I had dedicated this incarnation to spreading his work. I live for nothing else.
Well, what is life really like after death? And I started to write a novel about this, and I was very interested in what it's all about. And I remember at the age of 15, I decided that the answer, that what the world needs is examples of communities, of small groups of people who try to live an idealistic life, and in their idealism set an example for others.
Father, now that I dance in thy name.
He came into this world not to show us what a great man he was. He came to show us how great we are. He came to remind us of the God within.
To set hearts aflame. Father, now that I wander with thee, flowers and fields seem aligned with thy joy. All that I owned to thee I've given. Now I sing in thy love I am free. Father, now that I dance in thy name, birds and animals share in my song. All my sorrows, all my merriment, join in music to set hearts aflame. Ora, Padre, che vivo in te, fiori e alberi cantano d'amor, niente è mio, è tutto tuo, vivo in te nella libertà. Ora, Padre, che danzo in te, festeggia tutta la terra con me, tutti i fratelli miei s'uniscono per lodarti, o nostro Signore.
My thought in the background of my mind was, boy, this will be a good story to tell.